From National 2 North to National 2 East we go, where there was another twist at the top in round 22. Now, leaders Tunbridge Judeans were left crestfallen as they saw a 28-12 lead dissolve in front of their eyes as fifth placed Old Albanian produced a remarkable fight back in the final 13 minutes to snatch a 29-28 win. A try from Bailey Thomas and this astonishing score from Ben Alexander turned the game on its head, while Sam Jones kicked 7 points as OAs clinched their sixth win in a row, whilst also inflicting back-to-back defeats on Tunbridge Judean. So another tough one to take for TJs, but they are now 2 points clear at the top with a game in hand after nearest challengers Barnes were beaten 24-19 at sixth placed Westcombe Park. After beating Tunbridge Judeans in round 21, Jack Heald's side couldn't back that up as their seven-match winning run came to a halt. They did, however, collect a losing bonus point. So the gap to TJ's, as we said, is 2 points as things stand. But TJ's are still in control of their own fate. And they also have their game in hand away at 8th place Guernsey to come next Saturday. But the blips for the leading pair have allowed Dorking to potentially ease their way back into the promotion conversation after such a mixed start to 2025. Three straight wins, including last week's thumping 65-12 victory over Worthing, leaves Dorking 3 points off the top. So the pressure has been cranked up again towards the summit, whilst down at the other end, the pressure cooker of a relegation fight has been turned up for the aforementioned Worthing, whose survival hopes are now hanging by a thread after that 11-try defeat at Dorking. The Raiders are entering must-win territory now, while fellow bottom two side Colchester also lost in round 22 as they saw a 23 lead slip away from them as 11th place Sevenoaks stormed back to record a key 27-23 win at Raven Park. So Oaks edging closer to safety after this victory, but the game was slightly overshadowed by a really nasty head injury to Colchester fly half Finn Crichton towards the end of the game, and we wish Finn a very speedy recovery indeed. But bringing it back to the rugby itself and back towards the promotion battle, and as we said, Dorking may feel like it could be a three-horse race again after the last few weeks. But for that notion to grow, they must continue their recent good form when they travel to Guernsey Raiders in round 23. And Guernsey are in fact the second of our three featured clubs on this week's National League Rugby preview show. Now, Guernsey, while sitting 8th in the league standings, could have a say in the direction of this title race, with Dorking and then table toppers Tunbridge Judeans visiting Foots Lane over the next 2 weekends. But the Raiders themselves, they have their own ambitions between now and the end of April, with Jordan Reynolds' side potentially targeting a top six finish. Now, for those with good memories, you'll remember Guernsey won 8 of their first 10 games this season, but fixture disruption and the build-up of injuries really hampered their progress. But they have clicked into gear, back into gear over the last couple of weeks with back-to-back wins for the first time since October against Henley and Oxford Harlequins, respectively. So ahead of another couple of big fixtures for the Raiders, we caught up with Guernsey boss Jordan Reynolds. Let's just go back to the last couple of weeks, Jordan, if you don't mind, to start with, where kind of I know after the Bury St Edmunds game, you said that might have been a bit of a turning point for your side, and that's proven to be the case with back-to-back victories going into round 23. So you must be really pleased that the team are back on track after what was quite a frustrating period in the season for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, to get a couple of wins after so many losses, everyone's going to be pleased by that. if they're supporting the Guernsey team. But look, it's been a bit of a tough run for us. There's little signs there that we're starting to turn that corner, but really pleasing to get those two wins. I think we had seven losses on the bounce from that stage. But and there were only small margins as well. There was a lot of games in there where we'd only lose by a score, but that's how tough this league is at the moment, isn't it? By the time we hit around October time, well, end of October, we were playing extremely well. I think we were sitting second in the league at that stage, and we had maybe the three or four injuries that every team would sustain. But from that period, from end of October right through to still now, we've had anywhere between 40 to 45% of our squad out injured. I've got 12 guys sidelined at the moment. Most six of those have been sidelined since October, and it makes it tough. You know what I mean? Like it's hard, but this is the every team goes through this, at one stage in probably 5 or 6 years, and we just happened to have one of those seasons this year. I mean, on the other side of it, I'm sure our board are pretty happy because they were getting a little bit nervous when we were sitting second. So, but it's just the way it is, and this is a really great league. If you look at a lot of the teams, except for maybe the top two, have been pretty consistent. A lot of these teams, like we had our good run of around 8 or 9 games. We've seen Western Park do the same. I mean, you've seen Canterbury go on a winning streak as well. So everyone's found a little bit of form at some stage of the season, and we're hoping that we're about to do the same thing again.
Well, let's talk on the kind of the strong start to the season you had, Jordan, because we can talk about the injuries and the fixtures disruption you had in November at the start of January, which did kind of seem to take the wind out of your sails. But as you said there, you had 8 wins in the opening 10 rounds of the season, I think it was. And even now, with 5 games to go, despite the run you've had in terms of the defeats, it feels like, a top six finish is still very much achievable for you guys. And I know when we spoke last year, you're an ambitious coach, Jordan. The club are aspirational, and you want to be a top six side in this league. So, despite kind of maybe the negative run you had been on, this can still be a positive season for Guernsey Raiders, can't it?
Yeah, which would amaze you, right? Like, I mean, losing this amount of games, but I think the different side of that is because the league is so competitive, everyone's beating everyone, and that kind of marginalizes what the table looks like by the end of it. But if to be top six would be amazing for our club. Like people kind of look at Guernsey and they suddenly think Jersey, and we're not the same. We are who we are. Like we carry a squad of about 26 players, 27 players. We don't have big squads. We don't have a lot of money. So to achieve a status of even playing in National Two has been a dream come true for us. Let alone now trying to find a spot into that top six. So for us, it's always about overachieving for us, which is amazing. And if we could creep into that top six, although a lot of rugby has to go our way over these next 5 games, it'd be some achievement for us, which would be fantastic and well deserved for our players as well. Like a lot of the young guys that have had to step up, and they're playing some of their first national rugby against sides like Canterbury, Barnes, TJ's soon to be in a week's time, and Dorking this weekend. That would normally become pretty daunting, but these guys are really sticking to the challenge, which is so pleasing to see. And like I said, if we could get into that top six, then I'm sure we'll be having a beer of celebration after.
Absolutely, Jordan. And you mentioned kind of there, Guernsey is kind of such a unique club in the National League rugby bubble. But when obviously I was over there last year, you get the sense that everyone is buying into the whole club ethos. I know you've got thriving senior sides, a great women's section, and an academy as well. So in terms of the first 15, Jordan, if you were able to get that sort of top six finish, any progression for the first 15, I guess makes Guernsey Raiders even more of an attractive proposition for players to maybe play the rugby at your club, or even visiting supporters to go, I want to check out what's going on at Guernsey Raiders because they seem to be taking steps in the right direction.
And that's really the crust of, I think, all clubs. Everyone understands that all rugby within the club is so important. Like we couldn't survive without an academy. We couldn't survive without our second team. We can't prosper without a ladies team. And we can't work as well as we do without a good solid board that's around it. But it is true, we had a factor of like a lot of a lot of players were leaving Guernsey to go play at National One or National Two over the years. So if we could be in National Two, maybe that would allow players to stay and play for us. But I think the thing is too for us, the wins and losses that are found at the first team levels in all clubs, I think are heavily burdened, because we have factors of like, are people going to continue to turn up and
Yeah.
spend money at the bar? And so the wins and losses are important to us. There's stress that comes with it. And I'm sure every coach would tell you the same. So there is that factor that comes with it, but it's also what drives us. I mean, I've always said who the hell would want to be a coach? But we tend to find the weird ones want to do it like myself. So, we jump on it and we enjoy those little moments, and you enjoy those moments when you're getting your team out of ruts like we are at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned kind of winning and losing, Jordan, but you have won more than you've lost at home this season. And I know you're probably really pleased about that. It seems to have been a bit more of a fortress this year, Footslade. I know you kind of had those couple of defeats at the end of February, but you were able to bounce back against Henley, as you said before. But I think you've kind of beaten four of the top seven sides at home with Dorking and TJ's to come over the next couple of weeks. So I guess you're really keen to keep that feel good vibe around Footslade continuing between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you ever had a look at the footage where we played against Barnes, we're renowned for always just beating Barnes and at the death, and we did it again. And I think for people that come down buy a ticket membership and they come down and watch a game like that, you don't get that kind of theatre anywhere else. Like, it's an amazing atmosphere, and I'm sure Barnes would probably think the opposite of that. But for our crew over here in Guernsey, they love it. And they're already looking at this Dorking game and TJ's because they're the bigger sides that you play in the league, and it's another fantastic opportunity to play some rugby and watch some of our young guys battle against these big sides. And like I said, we always back ourselves at home. It's great facilities to play in. We're averaging anywhere between 800 to 1100 in the crowd at each game this time, this season, I should say. So it's always exciting to play at Foots Lane.
Absolutely. And as we just touched on there, two of the top three sides visiting Guernsey Raiders over the next 2 weeks. So it definitely is one of the hottest tickets in National 2 East to get down to Foots Lane and show your support, because it is a really exciting time in the season, and Guernsey Raiders very much part of that between now and the end of April. And I know we're talking about National 2 East, Jordan, and the running for you guys as you look to try break into that top half and the top six. But after the season's concluded, it doesn't for Guernsey Raiders, does it? Because I believe the Channel Islands will be, Guernsey Raiders will be hosting a game between the Channel Islands and international side Sweden. So that seems like a really good occasion to look forward to. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we have the Siam Cup that is played every year, and it's over in Jersey this season. And what we look to establish is a select side based out of those two teams that will take on an international side. So this year it's going to be Sweden. We didn't really know what the extent of, like, the size of this event would be. We decided to put it out to our stakeholders and see if they'd be interested. We immediately got some great responses. So to give you an idea, the Siam Cup's a massive event for us. It can hold anything between maybe 3 to 5,000 people coming to it. So this event at the moment has hit the same heights as what the Siam Cup's done. So it should be another great boost for both islands, which is fantastic. And it means we get to play some rugby with well, they're our enemy the week before that, I guess, or 2 weeks before that. But then making a select side out of that, we get to play with our Jersey counterparts, which will be an interesting concept. But I think we can form a really strong squad out of both sides to take on Sweden on the 17th of May.
So a big thanks to Jordan for his time this week. Guernsey clearly determined not to let their season fizzle out, with a top six finish well within their reach between now and the end of the season. And on the whole, they've been very strong at home this term. So we'd advise anyone watching the show this week who is from Guernsey to head down to Foots Lane on Saturday, or certainly over the next 2 weeks. Or if you are a Dorking or Tunbridge Julians fan, why not take an early spring break to the Channel Islands to watch your team in action against Guernsey Raiders? I was there over at Guernsey last season, and it is certainly a fantastic venue and a fantastic place to watch rugby. So it should be a big couple of weeks for Guernsey Raiders themselves, and we hope that followers of National 2 East will also be heading out in force across round 23 to sample the 6 other fixtures that we have for you this weekend. And with Dorking at Guernsey, we'll stay with the top 3 as leaders Tunbridge Julians welcome 9th place Bury St Edmunds to the Slade. Bury were the first side to defeat TJs this season back in November. So could they do the double, or will the tabletoppers hit back and deliver a statement of intent? As for second place Barnes, they take on the form side in National 2 East, Old Albanian. We saw Oa's dent TJ's aspirations last time out, and after beating 3 of the top 4 sides during their current run of 6 straight wins, Oa's may fancy their chances of adding to that list this weekend. In terms of the relegation fight, what a huge game right at the bottom of our list, with Worthing Raiders hosting fellow bottom 2 side Colchester. If they have any hopes of pulling off a great escape, you feel that Worthing must win at Roundston Lane on Saturday. And one of Worthing's 2 victories this season did come against Colchester back in November. So from a Colchester point of view, they'll be looking to avenge that defeat whilst also looking to respond after last week's loss to Sevenoaks, if they are to reignite their own survival hopes this weekend. So much on the line in West Sussex on Saturday, and 12th placed Havant, who sit 9 points above the danger zone, will have a keen interest in what goes on between Worthing and Colchester, but they also have a major opportunity to ease their own relegation fears when they host 10th placed Oxford Harlequins this weekend. There is bound to be a big and passionate crowd at Hooks Lane for this one, as Havant aim for their first win in 2025, while Oxford Quins, who were promoted alongside Havant for this season, will confirm their safety if they match Colchester's results this weekend. So again, plenty at stake in this one. Elsewhere, shooting back to the top of the list, 4th place Canterbury, who held off a Bury St Edmunds fight back in round 22 to claim a welcome 40-38 victory last time out. They face 7th placed Henley, while Sevenoaks, who got that important win at Colchester in round 22, they entertain Westcombe Park in the latest Kent derby.